welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. It's the Christmas special, it's the Christmas special Christmassy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
What are you doing over the festive period?
I'm celebrating Merry Christmas. What are you doing?
I'm having a holiday. I don't mean going on holiday, I mean actually having a break.
You're going to stop doing things?
I'm going to stop doing things. I'm going to try very hard to anyway. It's very difficult.
Nice.
Very difficult to stop. Yes, so ho ho ho, look, we've got a stocking of stuff. What's in that stocking? Let's have a look. Some memory sticks for you, Sam.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, man.
Well, what have I got? Let's have a look. There we go. Oh, yes, it's a guitar. That's great. That's one. So I think it's something else here, actually. It's just... So yeah, nice strap copy of that one. Let's see what else we got. Oh!
What is that? Oh.
It's a Les Paul!
No, wow.
Wow! Right, okay, let's put that there.
Ooh.
It's going out. There we go. It's an Ibanez. There we go, put that one there as well. There we go. Anyway, let's just throw them all away because they're in the way. Throw them all away in the bin.
Merry Christmas, Kev.
Yes, and this is Comet the Reindeer, hello. So anyway, yeah, they're all cleared out. So, how far have we got? Sam did say he would turn up eventually on the Zappa reviews, so... and how far have we got? We've got to Them or Us. No, wait! Hang on a minute! Press rewind! Think that's rewound far enough? Okay,
Yeah.
press stop. Okay, press play.
What are we reviewing, Kev?
I think it's about May now, it's not actually Christmas anymore. Because we've forgotten an album! Reason being, I didn't own it. At the time of when I started doing these reviews, I didn't own it.
Why didn't you own it, Kev? What was that missing from your collection?
I didn't own... When I started these reviews, I didn't have a single Flo and Eddie album. There's 4 Flo and Eddie albums, from the original Flo and Eddie albums. I didn't own any of them. And I decided, that 200 Motels needs time. It also needs money, because it's 50 quid to get it from Amazon. New. It's not very available. It's not been remastered as part of the 2012 one. I don't know the reason for that, but it wasn't remastered. I don't know if they haven't got the tapes or whether there's a problem with the tapes. The sound isn't fantastic, so I don't know if that's part of the problem. But anyway, I bought this. I had to buy this second hand for 25 quid. And yeah, it's 200 Motels. The Christmas album, obviously, because that's Santa. There's Santa, there he is. Ho ho ho.
Green Giant.
Yeah. Yes, so what do you think of it?
There's a lot of music there, Kev. I think too many songs, and there's not enough drums.
Plenty of percussion. But it is Ruth Underwood obviously on percussion, and also Angie Dunbar because it is the Flo and Eddie band. It's the same band that are on the other albums, so that's good. Obviously it's orchestral as well. I would say out of all his orchestral albums, I think it's significant to say this is my least favourite. But that doesn't mean it's not good, because his orchestral albums are so amazingly awesome. There aren't any bad ones. This is actually my least favourite of them, which is interesting. The other thing is, why didn't I own any Flo and Eddie albums? And it really, about their reputation and what I'd read about them, made me realise that they weren't going to be completely for me. And I knew I'd buy them eventually, and I kind of regret that because some of them are great. I think the previous album, Phil Maurice, I think that's actually better than 200 Motels, actually, which is the live album, concept album, which you can see the review of on this channel. But obviously it's much more bandy as well, so there's proper Flo and Eddie songs on there as well as the orchestral stuff, so that's cool. There is a contingent of fans.
Yeah.
Who don't like Flo and Eddie, and I know that they did go to the auditions for the 88 band but chose not to do it, and I am glad they didn't, like a lot of people, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just the 88 band was so awesome, I'm glad they didn't take away the time from other people in the band. Yeah
There's lots of vocals, and there's sort of lots of weird stuff going on. Sounds very Frank Zappa-y.
I think what we haven't mentioned obviously is the big thing. It's not an album really, it's a film. 200 Motels was a film, so this is the soundtrack of the film, so it should be treated as such. I think I don't think you can criticise it with the same vigour,
Yeah, but would you really sort of sit and listen to this from beginning to end?
Not very often. Probably once in your life.
Yeah. That was the thing I was struggling with, was sitting down and actually listening to it. You get so far and then think, that's enough of that.
They're not going to be able to hear, Sam!
It doesn't matter, comment. Yeah, you get so far through the album and you think, well, screw this, I've listened to enough of this now.
That's the problem. There's a lot of it, and it's not his best stuff. But I think, particularly orchestral stuff, some of it is very typically Zappa. Some of it is much more film scorey, film music. Obviously, deliberately, it's part of the humour of it, which makes it more accessible, but not as good. I think that's the point. But like you said, I mean, it's a double album, and it's a lot of tracks. It's not actually technically that many songs because there's a few suites which are kind of could be counted as one thing. I think maybe if they were actually listed like that, it would be easier to digest.
That sort of made me wonder how did he write it all?
Well, his favourite hobby was scoring music, sitting. He did say when he toured with the Wazoo band, he found them really boring because they played chess between gigs. But his favourite hobby was, he had sheet music and he would write. So he was just incredibly prolific, unlike every other rock band in history.
Yeah, it's sort of the issue with that is you can give it sort of gleam that maybe it's a little bit churned out, if you know what I mean.
That's the thing with Zappa though. Anybody else, there'll be a quality control problem.
Yeah, but you think someone like piano guy, Candle in the Wind, what's his name?
Well, Elton John.
Elton John. He's got millions of albums, but they're all really sort of the same, and
yes,
lots and lots of
the same
piano stuff.
Zappa's very different because in a way he's not really rock in some ways, and he said himself he doesn't consider himself prog. Obviously he's doing something a bit different, but a lot of what he's doing isn't rock. Because he's a composer, that's what he wants to do. He wants to write stuff. But, the vocals, the lyrics, everything else came as a side thing to wanting to do that. He didn't feel able just to do that on its own and fund it. So that's what he did. He wrote. So I don't. In Zappa's case, I don't think it's true about the quality control thing. You would think, wouldn't you? I mean, it's ridiculous. And yet, there's overwhelmingly the standard is so high. 95% of the time, that's not a problem.
I actually think it's going to be for later generations to judge Zappa. I think it's very difficult for us to judge objectively.
It's still too soon, yeah. You're right. Yeah. I am completely sold on it. I believe it. And that's why, when it's just me reviewing them, obviously, nearly all the time, I'm towing the line of it all wonderful. So this is more interesting, technically. So, Happy Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Yay!
But if it's wonderful, why is it such a chore to listen to?
Well, so is Stravinsky.
Some of Stravinsky is a chore to listen to.
I mean, that's through the lens of familiarity of the sounds of the instruments. It must have been more of a chore to listen to 40 years ago, because a lot of those sounds are now familiar as well. Electric guitar and the kind of solos he was doing at the time would have been weird and new in the same way sort of the later electronic stuff sounds weird and new. So yes. Originally, he organised a concert with the LA Philharmonic, and there was this concert. The condition of the concert was that they had to have a rock band playing there called the Mothers of Invention. So he, regrettably, I don't think he particularly wanted to do it. He got the original Mothers back together again, and this was before he met Flo and Eddie. This was a big deal because obviously Lumpy Gravy was only a small orchestra. This is a full symphony orchestra, so it's the first time he's played with a full symphony orchestra. But they wouldn't let him record it, basically. The Musicians Union wouldn't let him record it. They'd have to pay union scale, and he couldn't possibly afford to do that. So that was kind of the end of that. But I don't think that performance was actually what is now 200 Motels. I think it was called 200 Motels. Could be wrong about this. But in fact, that was an amalgamation of different things like Pound for the Brown and stuff like that. When he introduced the concert, he did say he didn't think it was great. It's a collection of sketches, I think he called it, and he said there's various mistakes in there which he didn't hear until it was performed. And his words actually were not really a great piece of music. So that's interesting. He didn't work with the LA Phil again because they said, I know, if you write a two piano concerto for us, we'll play it for you. If you buy us two massive pianos for $10,000, so that was the end of that. So the actual 200 Motels with the Flo and Eddie band were recorded by the Royal Philharmonic at Pinewood Studios with all the other stuff going on as well, filming the ridiculous film. Did you watch the film at all?
No.
We're not reviewing the film because we don't review films, although
we tried.
We did try years ago and we failed. I think Sam could do it a bit, I couldn't do it at all. Yeah, and Frank did predict it would go down as the worst film of all time, which he didn't, actually. So I don't know if he was disappointed, or that probably means it didn't make the impact he expected. It was certainly a pretty impenetrable, strange film. This quite clever idea, that film's so expensive to make, it's just ridiculous how much it costs. So we had this idea, 9 days of rehearsal, filming in a studio, it's all in a studio, the sets are all made, they use videotape to film it. 5 days of recording, and then the idea is that in the editing suite they'd edit the videotape together and then transfer to film. So it'd be much cheaper to make, that was the idea. But filming was complete chaos. He hired Tony Palmer, who'd done a few 60s movies, to be assistant director, and it fell out with him, or he was ill, or had all sorts of problems. And he tried to get his names taken off the credits because it got so ridiculous. But then they ran out of time. The Royal Philharmonic refused to go into overtime, so we basically had to make the film up in the editing suite as he edited it together. So what we get at the end isn't actually the film he intended anyway, which probably would explain why it's very confusing. And this is the soundtrack to that. I don't think the sound's that great. I thought the sound was a bit muffled.
Yeah, it did sound quite muffled.
I don't know if there's a problem with the tapes or something. But then again, you think about it, what did films sound like at the time? They kind of sound like that.
Yeah. So
it might be because it's recorded in Pinewood, that's what it sounded like. Okay, so let's do the first song. What's the first song?
Track 1, Semi-Fraudulent, direct from Hollywood Overture.
It's nice, it's a filmy overture though, it's a parody of films and that kind of thing. I mean, Bogus Pompey's kind of like that as well, but it's strangely vanilla. You can hear the zapperiness in there, but yeah, strangely vanilla. He's deliberately making film music here, and that's why I prefer some of the stuff.
It's important to set the scene at the beginning of the album, and he does that. It's very obviously sort of filmy, as you say. Not great, but not terrible.
Yeah, and a German man starts his narration. I don't know why. If we don't know, but there he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Track 2, Mystery Roach.
Nice bit of Flo and Eddie. Just a good Flo and Eddie song.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. The bass.
3, Dance of the Rock and Roll Interviewers.
Now we're into sort of more avant-garde stuff, more what you'd expect. But again, nothing incredible. He's written better stuff.
Track 4.
I think tracks 4 to 8 are kind of a suite. No, I see them as one track.
Right, okay.
The Tuna Sandwich suite. And some of this was originally written for an intended European album. He was going to do a European album, if that makes any sense. And this piece was called Progress. Although I think the original title was Music for the Queen's Circus. And actually bits of it ended up as Bogus Pomp, actually, the theme of it, which is really interesting. We didn't hear Progress, of course, until ahead of their time, all that time later, so that's interesting.
I didn't quite understand, because it's this town is a sealed tuna sandwich, and you've got a prologue and a reprise of that. So what's the deal with the salmon? It keeps going on about this salmon.
I don't know. I don't know why it's a sealed tuna sandwich either. There's something to do with tuna and fish. Could be mud shark related. We won't mention what that is. So the next track is like the sort of piano version of the same thing, and then you've got another orchestral bit which is very, very sort of Hollywoody, film music-y kind of stuff. Very well. The best bits are the Warner Brothers bits, well, the real stuff, which is quite entertaining. Then you've got the reprise of the Tuna Sandwich thing. It's interesting. It's the same. It's basically the same. So the reprise isn't really any different from the original. But then track 8, which is what's it called?
The Sealed Tuna Bolero.
The Bolero version of the Sealed Tuna theme. That's great. Grand finale. Great.
Yeah. Very classical. Track 9, Lonesome, Cowboy, Burt.
This is Jimmy Cole Black from the original Mothers. He has returned to do his cowboy impression song, much like he did on You Are What You Is with Hardin Your Husband. I don't really like country. I like kind of bluegrassy stuff, but country songs, it's just something that doesn't do it for me, which is, I don't know why. That's probably why I don't particularly like Zappa's country songs. And this is a big song, this is a famous song, but it doesn't do anything for me particularly.
Is this the Frank Zappa track that was in Brokeback Mountain? Track 10, Touring Can Make You Crazy.
Foamy, evil strings, and all that.
Track 11, Would You Like a Snack?
This track, or at least the track of this title, was recorded with the original Mothers and Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane, which wasn't released until some Jefferson Airplane box set millions of years later. I don't know if I think you can hear a little bit of similarities, but it's not really a very similar piece. What did you think of it?
It was delish.
Tasty.
Short. Yeah, it was a short, tasteful little thing with a paradiddle in the middle.
Right, track 12.
Redneck Eats.
Really, really percussive, very, very Zappa. Proper Zappa stuff now. Evil, Ferrez type stuff. Ace. Bit filmy, but good.
Track 13, Centerville.
Much more filmy, much more filmy. I think Centerville is the typical town they're going on their tour. That's what it's called, Centerville, but it's a pretty nondescript orchestral piece.
Track 14, She Painted Up Her Face.
Great melody. this one. I think, again, 14 to 18 are a suite. I call it the Painted Up a Face suite. I don't know what it's really called. But it keeps reprising this same theme. It's one of the two best bits of the album. It's really memorable. Stuff. Excellent.
Why wasn't there more of this kind of thing?
Well, it is on there like 3 times.
So track 15, Janet's big dance number, is the same thing.
No, it's a slow, filmy, it's really slow and atmospheric. But then the next track is back to that melody again, which is...
half a dozen provocative squats.
Yeah. But then at the end of that, doing the Painted Up a Face theme again, it's like a Willow Farm bit. And it goes, it's you know, like a nursery rhyme kind of ugly thing. Do 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 do. You know, and it has the same effect as Willow Farm in that it's just unhinges everything. Brilliant.
It's good.
17.
Mysterioso.
Yeah, this is a real evil strings, perfect after provocative squats. I can't describe it, just evil strings, really dissonant stuff going on. Brilliant.
18, Shove It Right In.
And then back to the band melody again, same as before.
Yeah. Lucy's Seduction of a Bored Violinist and Postlude.
Proper bit of modern classical stuff. Obviously, you spent some time sitting down and getting a good piece written here. One of the best bits on the album, I think. Some of it's a bit filmy. Best bit though is at the very end. It goes a bit Uncle Meat in its sort of evil, scary stuff going on, and then it fades. It was just starting to get going, but yeah, that's the end of the first record.
Disc 1.
And then if you are brave, you put the next record on. Few dare to venture.
Okay, so we're back to 1, disc 2, and this is I'm Stealing the Towels.
Yeah, which is a great title for some fantastic percussive, modern classical awesomeness.
A little bit filmy, but not too filmy. 2, Dental Hygiene Dilemma.
Bits of orchestra stuff and a lot of dialogue. That's what it sounds like to me, and it sounds like bits from the film kind of thing. I don't know if he's filling up the album with stuff. Maybe people would disagree because it's got narrative in it.
Yeah. 3, does this kind of life look interesting to you?
Again, actually, it starts off with some great orchestra band stuff, but again, there's some talking on it, and it's the cartoon voices again. They're coming back.
You would expect talking on this sort of thing though, if it's
a soundtrack. But I mean, like Thingfish, too much dialogue. But in the context of being a film, that's fine, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Where am I up to? Track 4, Daddy Daddy Daddy.
Yeah, this is another Flo and Eddie song. The chorus goes, "Do you like my new car?" which was the title of the groupie routine from Film East, strangely. And yeah, it's a nice bit of R&B. It does show off what fantastic singers Flo and Eddie are. Sometimes they get a bad press,
but they're actually quite good at singing. Track 5, Penis Dimension.
Yeah, somewhere in this is a bit of Little House I Used to Live In, which is interesting. The lyrics are about people worrying about size, obviously, and about women worrying about size as well as men. The thing this always makes me think of is reading about the court case with Royal Albert Hall. A few weeks after this, they were supposed to be playing Royal Albert Hall again, and they actually refused. They wouldn't let them play there again. I don't know if it was because they attacked the organ or whatever they did, but on the grounds of indecency. And I've talked about this before, but it was a bit of a sham court case. It was the typical British thing where it's all set up. It's all been set up, and it was wrong. But obviously he lost that court case. But there's the great bit you read about when they were playing the judge the songs. You know, they played him half a dozen provocative squats and various other things, and then they said, "Right, do you want to hear the next one, Penis Dimension?" And he's like, "No, thank you. It's fine." It's just the title, you know. And actually, there's nothing on here that's really that bad. He's done much more extreme stuff than what's on here. Probably because this was in a film.
Yeah, it comes under different restrictions then, doesn't it? 6, What Will This Evening Bring Me This Morning?
Pretty good vocal piece, very sort of 60s. You got the cartoon vocals again.
Not too filmy, this one.
No, good vocal.
Track 7.
Vocal stuff, but this is actually a cappella. Possibly not completely, the sound's not fantastic. I think there's some strings in the background, but mostly it's a cappella. And one moment you think it's a string, it's actually vocals going "ah" in the background. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. 8, Magic Fingers.
This was the single. I think was probably the right choice. Dirty R&B, proper Flo and Eddie song, smutty lyrics, great.
A little bit out of place on this album, Kev?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there's a couple of those. Maybe there should be more of them. I don't know, less orchestra.
When you say this is the single, I don't associate there being a single on the Zappa album.
No, it's a weird thing. This was a very commercial venture, obviously, to do press conferences with the gutter press, to do interviews with the Mirror, stuff like that, which just seems bizarre now. I suppose they haven't quite found their niche of crap in those days.
Track 9, Motorhead's Midnight Ranch.
Yeah, the next few tracks, right 9 to 14, are go together because they're all extra bits of orchestra and dialogue and stuff. Track 9 itself is a bit nondescript, I think, bit of orchestral stuff.
10, due on the newts we got.
This is good because it's funny, short vocal thing, so that's okay.
11, the lad searches the night for his... What? More newts. The lad searches the night for his newts.
It's a vocal bit.
The girl wants to fix him some broth, track 12.
This I like a bit more, I don't know why, it's more vocal stuff. It reminded me of the Yellow Shark, so you know, that's pretty cool. The sort of talking vocal stuff with the crazy orchestral stuff. I like things like that normally, so that, you know, 12 was good.
13, the girl's dream.
More orchestra and dialogue, getting to the end.
14, little green scratchy sweaters and corduroy pants.
And this doesn't really have any difference between that previous track either, it's just more of the same. It's dialogue and stuff and orchestral stuff. Track 15.
Strictly Genteel.
Strictly Genteel.
Finale.
Yes. And now we have, easily for me, the best thing on the album. This is absolute classic Zappa melody. Big and swooping and epic and silly. Funny. It's funny as well. This, however, is the vocal version. The best version is on Orchestral Favourites, no question for me. I mean, it's also on Make a Jazz Noise Here. It's also on Can't Do That on Stage Anymore 6. If you watch the You Are What You Is movie, it's on that as well. There's a lot of different versions of it. What a great melody. I mean, what's interesting here, of course, is it's vocal. And they talk about the people in England with their terrible food.
Fish and chips.
Which is, I suppose, at the time, the food probably was terrible here. But not now.
Gravy and mutton.
And tripe and onions.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Excellent. You can wake up now.
Oh, Zappa's so hard. Especially when there's 34 tracks of it.
34 tracks.
So I managed to listen to the whole thing once.
So yeah, we've got to give it eggs. I was umming and ahhing about how we should give eggs. We need more eggs, obviously, for Zappa. I was umming and ahhing about whether we needed to measure it 7 or above eggs. But I've only got 7 eggs left because I eat a lot of eggs now. I don't know if you've noticed. So yeah, most Zappa albums for me will be 5 or 6 eggs. There's a couple that are 6 eggs. Most of them will be 5, actually, because there's a lot of fantastic albums. This isn't one of his best albums. It's still a good album. So it only gets 4 eggs.
Okay, here's the issue, yeah. I don't feel I'm qualified to give this an egg rating. That's my issue with Zappa. You do need to be qualified to give an egg rating, because if I was to just give it a rating on how enjoyable the experience of sitting down and listening to the album was, it wouldn't get many eggs.
Yeah, because you have to make yourself listen to it.
Yeah, to sort of force your way through. But that doesn't mean there's not stuff to appreciate in there, which is technically clever and that kind of thing. So what do I do?
Tell us. What should he do?
What should I do?
What should he do? So Sam's abstaining.
Yeah.
Now you have to tell us what he should do.
Yeah.
This is an interactive video now. Choose your own adventure.
How are we doing on the request for ELP, brain salad surgery?
Yeah, we've got 8.
Excellent.
So we'll be back with ELP, but we've got to do Radiohead first.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So depression in the new year.
Yay, January, perfect time. But yeah, we are off for a bit, only a bit. But we'll be back on, is it the 5th of January or the 4th of January? Whatever I've written in the description. That's the day we'll be back.
Looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it. Wherever you are in the world.
Have a good Christmas.
Whoever you are.
Even if you don't celebrate it, happy holidays. Yeah.
Even if you don't get a break, when you do get a break, enjoy your break.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with the Bends.
Yeah.